Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which our OP's family was harassed by a couple of bored neighbors. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Retired Neighbors from Hell. My wife and I work opposite shifts, with her going into work early morning and getting home in time for us to hug and kiss, and then I'm out the door for my job that takes me past midnight. I also work rotating weekends and am on call during bad weather. We have 3 children. The oldest just finished pre-K, so they're not old enough to be on their own. In the rainy season, our grass gets pretty long because in order for mowing to get done, both of us have to be home. So this usually gets done every other week, and that's if it doesn't also happen to be storming. So there are times when the grass gets crazy. Both of our neighbors on either side of us are retired. They have all the time in the world to care for their lawn, but they hire people to do it for them anyway, and they look immaculate. Our lawn, aside from the length, is free of weeds, Bermuda grass tends to choke everything else out, and is overall taken care of. So our neighbors, because they have nothing better to do, will call the city and report our lawn's unsightly length 2 or 3 times a month to try and motivate us to keep it cut. And we're talking the day after I let it go for a week because I happened to be on call that weekend. Now, I've spoken with both of my neighbors about the time constraints that my wife and I have. It'd be one thing if we didn't have kids or if they were older and my wife and I could go out and mow when we have the time, but this has fallen on deaf ears. My typical work week is about 50-plus hours in busy crunch time, which of course also occurs in the rainy/mowing season, but I assure them that when it's a clear day and we're both home, the yard work gets done. This, of course, falls on deaf ears. One of them called me lazy, and that when they were young and married, with the kids, they worked 3 jobs and made it work, and I just don't take pride in caring for my lawn and blah, blah, blah. Another one suggested that I mow during the day while my wife is gone and let the kids run around in the yard while I do so. Yeah, that sounds totally safe. No way a 5, 3, and 2-year-old are in any danger while I'm pushing a mower with a spinning blade. There was one time I was trimming with my kids outside and our 2-year-old comes up and tries to stick his hand into the trimmer. Yeah, no, they need to be watched over while one of us is mowing. So of course I was angry at their response, but I got an idea. I'm just going to convert our backyard and alley into a garden. We're talking hanging gardens of Babylon levels of ostentatious. The tallest, bushiest, and viniest plants I can find. We're talking pumpkins, sunflowers, corn, watermelons, berries, lavender. Even getting some stinky plants like onions, garlic, globemaster, or cleome, which benefit the garden because they attract bees and hummingbirds and repel leaf-eating pests. The garden's going to be a thick boy, surpassing any length or bushy levels my grass ever got. The added benefit is, while it's a lot of work to start up, going out and pulling weeds is something safe I can totally do during the day when the kids are running around the yard. Our fences on either side are chain link, so all the smelly plants and tall boys are going right alongside the property line of the neighbors. I'm calling it my spike garden. Everything will have labels like curb appeal cucumbers and these peppers are permitted, and my personal favorites, bleep off motion jalapenos. And the raspberry labels are a picture of someone blowing a raspberry, courtesy of my artistic wife. There are no city ordinances on gardens other than they cannot be in the front lawn, and as long as I keep it maintained and weeded, there's nothing the neighbors can do. And our next story. You're not giving me an ETA for a fix? I'll flood your ticketing system. This happened around 2012. Back then, I used to live in Southern Europe, one of the Mediterranean countries. I was a university student in a remote rural place. I just moved to a new apartment, and naturally, my first order of business was to make sure that I have a running internet connection. The problem was that due to the place I was living in being so remote, there was only one ISP provider available. You didn't like the provider? Too bad. Anyway, I signed the necessary paperwork in time, moved to the new place, set up the router and all, and thankfully my connection is fine. That is until day 3 or 4 when out of nowhere my internet connection dies, but my phone line was working normally. Okay, no probs. I call the ISP to open a ticket. The representative tells me they'll get back to me soon. A few days pass and I get nothing, so I decide to call them again. The representative tells me that they're still investigating the problem and they'll get back to me soon. Now, this is the point where I'm starting to get frustrated. I know that the internet in the area is fine. In fact, my next-door neighbor's internet connection is great. So the problem must be something that's easily fixable, right? Wrong. A week has passed, and I call them again. This time, the representative tells me they've investigated the issue and the problem is officially of unknown origin, which means they cannot give me an ETA for the fix. I hang up the phone, feeling sad and perplexed. As I contemplate my internetless existence, the representative's words echo in my mind. Unknown origin. We cannot give you an ETA. Slowly, my sadness transforms into denial. How is this possible? My phone connection still works, so the line is still there, and I know for a fact that everyone in the area has a stable internet connection. This must be a simple bug that's easily fixable. This can only mean one thing. Some mofo has not been doing his job correctly. The denial becomes anger. How dare they tell me that they can't give me an ETA? This should be illegal. What if my job depends on my internet connection? Not to mention that internet access is a basic human right. They're denying me my rights by not giving me an ETA. At this point, the issue stops being about the internet connection. It's about the principle of the matter. As a human being and a customer, I'm entitled to an ETA. I call the ISP again and try to explain my flawless reasoning. No luck. The poor representative who listens to my rant tells me the only thing I can do is open a new ticket. Shocked by my inability to define my fate, I accept his offer and hang up. And then a magnificent idea is born. Since the only thing that I can do is open a new ticket, then this is exactly what I'm going to do. From that point on, I was calling my ISP provider 2 to 5 times per day. Each time I was telling the representative the same thing. This is what has happened. I know that there are multiple tickets with my name on them already, but I want you to open a new one. Most of the representatives were pretty amused by my story. Everyone complied. A month later, yes, a month passed without the issue having been fixed, I get a call from the regional tech executive of the ISP. The call goes like this. Executive, long angry rant. You must stop opening tickets. You're flooding our ticket system. More long angry rant. At first, I was shocked at how aggressive the executive was. He was clearly one step away from starting to call me names, and I knew that the only reason this didn't happen was that these calls are being recorded. And then my shock transformed into a visible, glorious erection. You see, my friends, this is the point when I realized that I was winning. Me. Well, are you going to give me an ETA for a fix? Executive. We cannot give you an ETA. The problem is of an unknown origin. Me. Then I guess I'll keep opening tickets. Executive hangs up. To cut a long story short, this exchange renewed my passion for crushing the souls of those who've wronged me, so I kept opening tickets at the same pace for another 30 to 40 days. I estimate that in the course of the total 70 days that this lasted, I must have opened more than 250 tickets. One day my phone rings. I pick it up, and it's an ISP representative who tells me this. Mr. OP, is this you? Your problem has been solved. Everyone at ISP name is talking about you. Indeed, on that day, my internet connection was back. The cool part about this, however, was that I had internet all along. Remember my next-door neighbor? She was kind enough to let me know her Wi-Fi password since day one. And our last story. Okay, we'll put a gate up. Over in the early 2000s, we parceled up and sold a bunch of our old farmland for property development, creating a little cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac was at the bottom of a steep hill, and parallel to it, there was a main road that went down to a beach at the very bottom of the hill. Between the cul-de-sac and the main road was a set of apartments we rented out, their gardens, and the beach shortcut. The beach shortcut was an old gate, about the width of a person, a sort of a back entrance to the property from the days of yore. This allowed people coming up from the beach on foot access without having to go all the way to the top of the steep hill to the main entrance. We left this area undeveloped and retained ownership of it, creating a small green belt and shortcut to the residents of the cul-de-sac and the apartments. This belt was about 20 feet wide and about 60 feet long. The kids from one of the families in the cul-de-sac started using it as a play area. They'd play ball games there, which sometimes resulted in balls getting kicked out to the road and down the hill. This family were overall a pain in the butt. They lived right at the very bottom of the cul-de-sac and were terrible for paying maintenance fees late and complaining about the other residents, Anyway, we kind of let this slide until the family asked if we could put a gate on the entrance to stop the kids from going out on the road after their ball. Now, this request presented a few problems. Mainly, the kids would likely just jump over the wall and get there anyway. We suggested that maybe they could tell their kids just to not play on our property, but the family refused, stating it was up to us to make it safe for their kids. The thing is, this is a fair point. If the kids fell or injured themselves in the area, then we'd probably be liable. So we kind of had to comply. But not only that, we had to make sure the kids were not in danger on our property at all. We actually had to go a step further than they anticipated. We had to fence the kids out of the property entirely. So yeah, we fenced off the entire green belt from the cul-de-sac, a huge 8-foot wooden structure with a door with a key code in it. We informed them that the door was to separate our private property from the public area, and the code was only given to the apartment residents, and cul-de-sac residents we liked better than that family. So not only were their kids prevented from playing there entirely, but the family no longer had access to the shortcut and had to climb the steep hill out to the main gate when going to and from the beach. In fact, this extended trip arguably made it more dangerous for the kids, as they now had to spend longer on the road and pass a pretty busy T-junction during these trips. The moral of the story is that if you have a neighbor that turns a blind eye to you using a part of their property, don't make it hard to keep turning that blind eye. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.